Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Big Screen Podcast. I'm Will Templar, and with me, as always, is Theodore Stokes. Hello, Theo.
Hello.
This has been a long time coming.
This has been in the works for ages.
We rescheduled this, and this is no exaggeration. It must have been about 10 times, right?
Well, yeah, we were meant to do this like last Friday.
Yeah, and then I think we've agreed to do it on every single day since then until now, which is the Saturday after. Yeah, this Saturday. Oh my god,
That's like 8 days.
8 days, 8 reschedules. Oh dear God. But yeah, today we were going to be doing like new releases, so I think we actually had like a list of about 6 things, and then we whittled it down to 4, then 3, and then I was like, oh, I'm sad. 1. So
Let's bang out a great one.
exactly. Not only have we slashed the recording edit time, but we've also slashed the list of movies that we're going to be reviewing today. So, Theo, would you like to reveal what movie we are reviewing today, just in case someone is blind and cannot see the thumbnail and the title and the description?
Today we are reviewing The Batman.
So, yeah, The Batman, very acclaimed film. Robin Pattinson as the Batman, titular role. So, talk about the cinema experience, because the audience do like a bit of this when we watch new releases. So what was the cinema experience like for you? It's very similar to mine, to be fair, but
Yeah,
I'll let you
we
explain.
kind of went at the same time.
Yes, we did go with Cole as well. Yeah.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we did go with Cole. I think it was very nice. It was your first time in a showcase.
Yes.
Everyone was respectful. Oh no, there was that one person who started talking. Actually, wasn't there?
To be fair, she was saying, "Oh, you wish." So maybe she was being assaulted and we didn't know, and we were telling her to shut up. But she was actually
Well, we
crying
didn't.
for help.
Someone just yelled, "Shut the fuck up!"
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You feel like, that doesn't sound too good.
And that was during the really emotional scene, wasn't it, between Bruce and his butler. And I was like, oh god, this is such a quiet
Like
scene as well, and you're ruining it.
The emotional climax of their relationship, and then it's
Alfred,
just, do you wish?
hell, I forgot his name. Yeah, you wish.
Alfred.
But other than that, I think it was a really good audience.
Oh yeah, there was not a lot of cheering. Oh, there was some clapping at the end, actually.
Oh
Was that
yeah,
you?
and then you looked at me and Cole, and you're like, oh, and then Cole was like, oh, I hate it when people do that.
And you just started clapping more intensely.
Yeah, showcase, because we talked about View last time, because that was your first time at a View. Showcase is bloody fantastic.
It's lovely.
Yes, the seats we had were superb. They're slightly different to the ones that I had the second time round, but that was because I was slightly lower. But yeah, I'm intrigued to know, which experience did you prefer, View or Showcase?
I think Showcase is because the seats are a lot nicer.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
The View was nice though. Like, it's better than the Odeon. It's definitely.
Anything's better than the Odeon.
It's not like it's hard to be better than the Odeon. It's the one in Bristol, but the View was very lovely, and it was a lot posher than I thought it was going to be.
It's not posh.
It was pretty posh.
It's not posh. Anyway, that's the cinema experience. That was the first time. What was the second time like? Did the film improve or get worse, or did you see like different things the second time around?
I think I still really appreciated it, and I really liked it the second time around, because obviously knowing the twists and turns it was taking, I could kind of relax a bit more. Because the first time you watch it, you're trying to figure out the mystery. As you're going along, you're like, oh, what's the plan? What's the motives? Like, we know obviously who the Riddler is, but like, you want to know who he is. And then watching the second time around, you already know all this, so you can just kind of relax and enjoy the film rather than trying to put together the mystery.
Yeah. I found myself the second time around, because it's such a popular film, and when something's, really, really acclaimed, I think you do go looking out for those little flaws in a film.
Oh, yeah.
So the second time around, I had seen more criticisms of the film since, and I was like, you know what? This has problems. I could think of about a handful of problems with it, like the first time I watched it, and I'm sure we'll get into it eventually. But the second time around, I was like, okay, that wasn't so good, that wasn't so good, that wasn't so good. But it's still a bloody great film. And that's what makes it difficult, because in my head, it's a 4 out of 5. But in my heart, it's a bit higher than that, Like, it's a very good film, but sometimes you just have to appreciate the greatness of how it was made, because technically this couldn't have been made much better, in my opinion. Like the direction and cinematography and the actions sequences and whatever. Fantastic.
It is like goddamn gorgeous.
Yes. And I love the moment where, he drops like a smoke bomb or whatever, and then he just pounces out with the smoke. That's so cliche. Not cliche, but, that's so standard Batman. Exactly. You expect that kind of stuff from Batman. So when it happened, I was like, at least they're doing this. That kind of pays homage to all the other Batmans, because every single Batman film that I've seen, at least, has that. But yeah, where do you want to start, Theo?
Should we start with what do they call him now? Batterson.
Oh, Batterson. Oh, yeah. So you want to talk about the lead, the emo teen himself.
The Nirvana listening Bruce Wayne motherfucker.
Yes.
That is Robert Pattinson.
He was in the Twilight films, right?
Yes.
Have you seen the Twilight films? You seem like the kind of man who would. Just because you watched a load of other stuff. I have seen your letterbox, but you vlog so much, I can't keep up.
I'm on my third watch of them all.
Oh, for God's sake. What's he like in the Twilight franchise then?
He's alright.
Yeah. I mean, the Twilight films aren't very good anyway, right? So.
Well, that's debatable, but.
Oh, okay.
But no, Robert Pattinson is like. I think he's good in that. Like, he's playing a weird character, so it's hard to be like, oh, yeah, he does this well. Like, if you watch the first Twilight, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
Pattinson. I don't know if it's to say this is Pattinson's best performance, because The Lighthouse does exist, even though I know you don't like it that much. But his performance in this is still, I think, still amazing.
It's a really stark contrast between him and Kristen Bell's Batman as well, or like Bruce. They're so different. Kristen Bell is like this playboy, really rich, really confident and cocky. We have Pattinson, who's very more reclusive. He's very more, emotionally scarred from his parents' death. And you can definitely see that throughout the film. And that's why you have, like, is it the commissioner's son? The mayor's son?
The mayor's son.
The mayor's son, of course. We keep going back to him, and you have that kind of theme. And, well, my point was that Pattinson delivers it so superbly in his performance. The emotion, the raw emotion. And when he goes to save the mayor's kid, I was really, like, happy. Because, first of all, that car's trajectory was never going to hit the kid. But he still went to save the kid anyway. So I did appreciate that. And
that
I think,
is, like, the best Batman moment for him. And he's Bruce Wayne still.
Exactly. Like, after I watched it, and even before I watched it, the clip where he draws everyone out of, like, the wreckage after the water has flooded the city and whatever.
Yeah,
and,
the flag.
Yeah. And then this little girl on the stretcher, and then he holds onto her until the last possible second, and everyone was saying, like, this is how Batman should be portrayed, his character to a T in the comics. So I can definitely back the perspective of that. The Batman here is a really good portrayal. But I do wonder if this kind of vibe of, like, emo, reclusive protagonist is going to be a thing in many more movies, because if you think back to Dune, Timothée Chalamet's character is very similar to Bruce Wayne in this film. Oh, we want to make a film dark. Add an emo characteristic to the protagonist. I don't know, but I'm not a huge fan, to be honest, and that's why I do prefer Kristen Bale's Bruce, even though in retrospect, this is a slight tangent, but well, it's not a tangent really, but The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
I loved, past tense, that film. But then I watched a clip just because I wanted to see how this film compared to the Dark Knight trilogy. So I watched Batman Begins, and I thought, this still holds up really well. The story's very good, the action is phenomenal. So yeah, Batman Begins, very good film, in my opinion. There's one or two things that could have been better, of course, but still very good film. Dark Knight Rises, I haven't rewatched that, but I know it's great. Everyone would agree that it's great, except from Luke, who I went to the cinema with, who's bloody rated really low again. Fuck that guy. No, I'm joking. If you're listening to this, love you, mate. Sorry. But then I watched a clip from The Dark Knight Rises, and I thought, holy crap, this looks shit. Towards the end, when they go into the big museum building thing,
oh yeah,
and the whole city's fighting. Yeah, that looks absolutely dreadful. And I didn't, notice the ears of the design of Batman in The Dark Knight Rises until I saw that clip, and I thought, holy crap, that head's mask looks so bad compared to Robert Pattinson's mask. So just the general aesthetic and the design of Batman and Pattinson in this film is much better. And I do like the touch of how they added the eyeliner. So it really makes him dark, like, throughout. So the bits that the mask don't cover is still black around the eyes. So yeah, that's superb. What do you think? I talked for a lot there.
Yeah, I really think that, like, the costume, if we're going to talk about the costume, I really love the drifter aesthetic it goes for. And, like, the kind of more, like, detective-y kind of aspect to it. Like, it's not all... Well, it is, like, bulletproof and armor-proof, but, like, has, like, the knife in it.
Yes.
And, like, he has the contact lenses so he can review the footage. And stuff like that. And also, like, the boots. Love the boots. How that's, like, every time he comes on screen, you can just hear, like, the squelching of the boots on the floor. You can see why the criminals are horrified of him. That scene where he just walks out in the beginning, you just hear the squelch, and it's like, oh, God.
Oh wow, the tube station. Yeah, that was superb. The whole opening sequence, I think, is just like fantastic with the voiceover. I love the voiceover, by the way. Yeah, but it's so funny to me. The second time around, I was like, oh, it's coming. And then I laughed when it's like, I am the shadows. I was like, this is so overly dramatic for no reason, but I love it.
Yeah, it was like, years of fighting in the dark have made me a nocturnal animal.
Yeah.
You're falling back into Twilight here.
Yeah, it's superb, it's over the top, but again, I love it. It's still great. And I love the line that I unironically love. But I love I Am the Shadows unironically. I just think that's like a really funny moment anyway.
Concept
as
well.
Exactly. But the line that sticks out for me is it's a warning to them regarding the light in the sky. It's just a phenomenal little sequence, and it really establishes the tone of this one.
Like, even with, like, the bits at the beginning with the Riddler spying on the mayor, like, it immediately gets you, like, in the zone for it. And, like, I love how he just
huge on how he pounced
into
it. Yeah, I wasn't huge on how he pounced on him. Like, he was, like, very quiet, and then like, he was. I can't recall the actor's name who plays the Riddler. Paul Dano. Right, we've seen Prisoners, right?
Yeah, I love Prisoners.
Very good film. He's good in it for the limited stuff that he's got. I think the makeup in that film is superb, but that's besides the point. This film, I think maybe it's because we don't see many insane people like in our day-to-day life, so when we see it on the big screen, it looks a bit out of place. But to me, it was a bit cringe, is the word I'm looking for. When he was on the phone on FaceTime and he started screaming into the phone, I thought, this is hammy and this is cringe. And he's shouting at the top of his lungs, but it's not translated well on a film, in my opinion. I was like, come on, mate. Like, you can announce yourself, but then there's just breaking your silence to be obnoxiously loud. Like, when we went to the cinema, me and Luke, the second time around, he actually caught up with his podcast co-host, like, out of the blue. This is the first time they've seen each other for like 8 months or something like that. And then Fred, who's the name of his co-host, said that, because I asked him, what do you think of the Batman? And he said, good. But towards the end, when the Riddler starts singing to Batman, he started laughing at the cinema. And I was like, yeah, that 5-10 second period is pretty bad and cringe. And I'm glad that I'm not alone in that. So a lot of people have been saying that Paul wasn't great. I do like the scenes in his interrogation room where he was a bit more sane. And again, I think that fits into, insanity being portrayed on film or whatever. But I think he delivered like really good lines and really well delivered as well in that interrogation scene until he starts screaming, until he starts singing. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I liked the bits where he was absolutely silent as well. So again, more subtlety. So you see it through his eyes and his, expression. Is he smiling or whatever? But when he was screaming, I was just there. I was just not for that.
See, I quite liked his performance personally. I like that because with the Riddler, he's an odd character to kind of portray. Like, because he's not in the comics, he's not exactly wacky, but he's still got that kind of quality, if that makes sense. And like you can see
Okay.
like Jim Carrey tries to capture that in Batman Forever and stuff, and it doesn't work there. But I think if like Paul opting to go for more like unstable or like unhinged version of him, I think worked really well. How he can go from being like in the interrogation scene, like you were saying, he's talking to Batman about like, oh, how we're partners, and like you can see he actually believes that in things. Like he actually believes that they work together in his own delusion. And then when he says we're not partners, like you're just a nobody, then he snaps.
Yeah.
And I like that because it shows that he's not like he's a fanboy of Batman, and that's kind of what I love about this film is that he's just one massive fanboy. But
And
when
that's
when his world gets shattered, I can understand why he starts screaming and stuff, and I really like it. And then because when obviously it goes from all the screaming to then him like going, oh, we were going to watch this whole thing play out, and then Batman doesn't clock it, and then he's like, oh, I really gave you more credit, and it's like, oh, that's the like change of like the
when he
power
breaks him
dynamics.
down, exactly.
And
You
then the
see, I
singing
like
I
that kind
thought
of
was
stuff,
just
yeah.
kind of funny, and I thought kind of made sense for his character just to be like, he's being interrogated, so what's he going to do to not give out the information? He's just going to start singing.
Yeah, I do like the final scene where he's with the Joker, actually, and he's like the Joker saying, "Oh, that should be you. He's raining on your parade. Let's team up." And then everyone I've seen, it's like, "Oh, that is so looking for the sequel so much." But I actually really like that scene because
Yeah, I
it
didn't
not
mind
only
it.
exactly like it not only teases the sequel well, in my opinion. Like that's the bog standard average tease for the next film in any kind of genre. So yeah, you can forgive it for that. But how it explores that the Riddler should have been the guy in power, and well, I'm sure we'll get to the deleted scene shortly. But the Joker has this kind of respect for Riddler and understands his kind of plans and his psyche, and really wanted him to succeed and Batman to fail for once. And that scene at the end really, cements that, I guess. And I do really like it. But it just depends on how the sequel goes because I'm really intrigued. I really want that film to come out soon. Yeah, go for it.
The Riddler had like good riddles in this one. Like his riddles actually made sense and were tricky enough to where the police wouldn't be able to like get it immediately. Where Batman's just like, yeah, he lies still.
Yeah. At the very first moment of the film, we get introduced to the carpenter? The thing that is his attack weapon, but also lifts up
the
carpets.
carpeting tool.
Exactly. So, like, a carpenter, if it's like a real thing, maybe a carpenter would notice, oh, that's a thing. Maybe he uses that to dig up the carpet or whatever. When I was watching the first time, I was like, okay, this is going from one to another, like, mystery very easily. It's like, okay, they read it out, and then Batman's like, oh, hey, I know this, or something like that, like, very consecutively. But then the second time I realized that, but there was a bit more depth to it than I had initially expected. So the second time I was like, oh, that connects to that, and that connects to that. And it's like not really clear, and then at the end it actually has payoff, which I really respect. So it's very intricate. Well, it's not very intricate, it's just like a really well written script, I suppose. I hate when people say the word intricate to make them sound clever. No, it's like it's still a really well written script, and there's things that I didn't really notice until the second time around, and maybe there's even more that I wouldn't notice until the third time around. But yeah, really good
I was
script.
about to say, did you like? I was talking about like how Riddler's like a fanboy of Batman and like is trying to work with him.
Yeah.
Well, like, and like obviously the film draws parallels between them, and there's more on that in like the deleted scene stuff, which is like deleted scene's weird because it kind of tells you it tells you the answers to what you figure out if you just watch the film.
Yes.
The beginning where Riddler's looking for the binoculars. Well, on the second time round, I noticed that when Batman's spying on Selina, like in the flat,
It's exactly
it's almost it's exactly the same like setup, and like it looks the same, and it's just that little detail like tying them together with the binoculars. I just on the second time around, I was like, oh, that's neat. Like you're already starting to hint that there's like something between these two, and that they're already like tying parallels to each other.
Yes, and big plus the music as well, like the musical motifs when things happen. I love how when Batman comes on screen, you just have the theme tune blaring out
Oh, the
like every single
soundtrack.
time. The soundtrack is super. I've been
It's
listening to it on Spotify, like in my spare time. It's great.
it's so good. And something in the way as I was hesitant about a Nirvana song being used in a Batman film, but they used it like at the right points.
Yeah, because me
And
and
it
Cole were talking about it before the first time we watched it, and we were just sat down and we were like talking about music in films because of course he wants to be a composer one day because he's into music and whatever. And basically, I asked him in Black Widow, did you like the moment where I think it was
oh yeah, I remember
Nirvana
you
or
saying
like
this.
something plays during
Uh,
that?
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
That's it. I don't know who sang that.
Nirvana as well.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. But
Down, down,
I
down,
asked him if
down,
he liked it,
down, down.
and he said, "No, I bloody hate it." So I was like, "Oh, okay." And then when the song came on in the film in Batman, I was like, "Oh God, I wonder if he's going to enjoy this." And then at the end of the film, I asked him, "Oh, so did you mind that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I bloody loved it." And I was like, two ends of the spectrum there. I'm not sure what to think about that because they were very similarly utilized. I think, like the Black Widow one wasn't egregious in the respect
The
that
Black Widow one
Batman
was like
was.
a shitty cover though. Like it wasn't
That's
Nirvana
fair.
singing it. It was like the pretentious, oh, we're gonna get a female singer to
Yeah,
like add something new to it instead of just playing the like Nirvana one, which I assume, to my knowledge, the Batman uses.
I think the composer uploaded it to YouTube, and I think it is. It's the original song, but it's a revamped version for the film to like fit in with the film score. So it's very slowed down a bit. It's a bit more ambienty. So it's like very consistent with the other songs around it in the theme, not in the theme track, the bloody soundtrack. So that's why it sounds very similar. But
Because
yeah,
yeah, something in the way that like the Batman's theme like is so memorable. You walk away from it just like going. Yeah, that's the yeah. Well, do you want to like go to a negative maybe?
yeah. Sorry, Sean. We did just wake up before this. Well, about an hour before this, so we are very tired, audience of
Yeah, I may
the
still
people.
not be just led in bed right now.
Are you still? I heard your quote there. Adjusting the quote. Oh, this is comfier.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna get loose and limber for this one.
Oh, loose. But yeah, like same here. I told you that I have no notes today, so I'm literally just freestyling this, and it just feels more natural, you know.
It feels nice just to like because there's something with like the structure of having a structure is like you have something to fall back on. But when you just go for it, then the conversations I feel
More natural.
more natural. And if
Yes,
we can like you mentioned, like if we can like record in like one place, it would be
exactly.
a lot better because again facial cues because I keep cutting you
Oh
off by accident.
yeah. So the audience of the Big Dream podcast, I am pleased to announce that this is an exclusive to the people that have listened this far in, like maybe 20 minutes into the episode. 25. We are starting from next month, hopefully. So starting from our next episode, we should be recording in person in a 3 feet locker room kind of thing in the middle of nowhere. Not in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a big room, but it's a small room in the corner. And it's meant to be like a recording sound booth. And so we're going to get 2 chairs and a table in there somehow. And we're going to add a microphone in there. And then, yeah, so that should be interesting. But I think it will help because I'm a listener of the Exterminating Doctor Who podcast by Aidan Gula and George Ellis. Go watch it; it's very good. And they record in Salford University audio, like booths, not booths, but like they've got this whole room set up, and it literally looks like a professional podcast setup. And every single week, their audio is fantastic. And I listened back to Indiana Jones review about a day after. I was like, the actual content, very good, but the audio quality can be better if you know what I mean. So like if
Mm.
you watch something like so superbly recorded and then you listen to what we make, ours is still good, but we can make a significant like a small change that makes a significant improvement. So from next month, next episode, we should be able to do that, and hopefully the audio is far better, even though it's not bad. So yeah, that should be fun. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, get the hype going.
Yes, of course. I can't wait to intently stare into your eyes as we talk about films. Oh, do you like how Michael Myers killed that person? Intently stares, I'm going to do it to you.
Just Freya walks in, and it's just us in the fucking soundproof room.
Imagine being in her point of view for that. That would be hilarious. It's like, what the hell are you doing? It's just like, what the fuck? I love that audio clip.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? Alright, back to the Batman.
Anyway, I got a negative.
Okay, negatives.
I'm not a big fan of the ending.
Neither am I.
It leaves a bit to be desired. It kind of just ends, and it's also like you could have ended it. Like looking back on it retrospectively, you could have ended it when the speech with the girl being lifted on the helicopter. Like I thought that would be a nice way to like end it with Batman like going, "Oh, I need to be something better. I need to be better than vengeance," and then it just cut to the credits. But I know they had to tie up the whole Selena Kyle subplot line, but I feel like it could have been done better.
Yeah.
And it ending with just them on the motorbikes, I get like the symbolism of them driving there, like they're going their different ways, they're parting ways, going down the different paths. But it just felt a bit like, oh, we're ending here? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like, you know when a film is ending because they're kind of saying their goodbyes and then this long panel, long little scene is going on for a bit too long and then it cuts to the title cards. And then I've been noticing that more and more with like recent films, and I do think it's a really good technique. It's like, okay, so ends on a good note and then just reminds people of the film that they were watching or whatever with the title card. And I agree with you. I think it was not very, but it was quite flat. But exactly what would you cut out? Because you have to have this, not that you don't have to have the symbolism, but again, if they're going to establish Selena and Bruce as these two different entities in two different places, then you have to have that moment. Or in the film or a TV show, whatever Selena gets, maybe have an explanation of what happened in between at the start, or do like a prequel or like a mini movie, like a short film, short prequel thing, like 10 minutes just to show what happened off screen otherwise. Something like that. But I think it ended well. I just didn't like the flooding sequence as much as other people did, apparently.
I didn't mind it because initially I didn't like it because I didn't think there was enough setup for it, and I still don't think there was enough.
No,
but that's the one thing this film also has a flaw, is it doesn't set things up right. Like the whole Venom thing at the end where he gets like the adrenaline boost and the Gotham is basically underwater.
Yeah.
There's like a few shots where you can see like the dam when they're at the Iceberg Lounge. I noticed that the second time around that you can see a couple of shots. And it's like, oh, okay. So they do tell you, but because it's not complaining, but because it's so dark and hard to see every little detail, it makes it a little bit harder to see that it's underwater. And they don't really like even just having like a news broadcast or something, just like talking about it would just be like give the audience like a clue of, oh yeah, the Gotham's underwater. Like that. Exactly. That's just a common thing with this Gotham. One
person I did absolutely miss though was Michael Caine as Alfred. I like Alfred in this scene and in this film. However, I don't know who the actor is. Haven't seen him in much, if anything.
Andy Serkis.
I think I think he did a good job. Wow.
He's like the green screen man. He plays Gollum. He plays
maybe
Caesar and Planet of the Apes.
I haven't seen Planet of the Apes, to be fair. He was absolutely underutilized in this film compared to Michael Caine, in my opinion. And
most definitely.
I think I spoke to you about this, but you know the voiceover. I loved that. However, I would have really loved a lot of that to be, adapted and actually turned into dialogue in scenes with Alfred. Like, I was thinking about how he was speaking, and I was like, this is very conversational. Why doesn't he say this to Alfred? Like, in different ways, of course. So, like, you can't just say to Alfred, I am the shadows.
It's because he's writing it in his journals.
He's writing in his journals, yeah. But why not impart that to Alfred, give him a bit more personality? And in this film, I think they try to make Alfred a bit more cold because he keeps saying, oh, you're not my father. And then when they're in the hospital scene, he initially says, oh, why did you lie to me? And then Alfred looks absolutely heartbroken, and that's where we get the turn, and that's where the relationship starts building it up again. And I get in that respect that they portray Bruce to be more cold to Alfred than in the Dark Knight trilogy. So I guess the development is absolutely spot on in that respect. But I still think some of that dialogue could have been imparted to Alfred or somebody else at least. But I really want it to be Alfred because not only could it work with Alfred, but Alfred isn't a main part of this film for better or for worse. Because I'm not huge on the actor for what he was given. But again, that's just because of the content he was given. I think the hospital scene was fantastic, but all the scenes at the Batcave, I thought Michael Caine could have ate this scenery up so much. I don't love Michael Caine. I think he's a very good actor, but I don't think he's done, above and beyond everyone else. I think he's perfectly good, capable actor. I know my nan and granddad hate him. But yeah, I really wish he was in this film. I really missed him. Did you?
Yeah, I think Michael Caine kind of set the standards for Alfred's because the joke of everything can be turned into a speech kind of got a bit tiring after a while, like the Jewel of the Nile or whatever the fuck he was talking about in Dark Knight. But this Alfred, he just felt really underutilized, and I remember saying that to you afterwards. I said I loved all the characters, but I felt like Alfred was really sidelined in this.
I think a lot of things were sidelined. And so the focus is definitely on Batman. The story was completely about Batman pretty much. So things like Commissioner Gordon, the mayor, Alfred, and his father and mother, all that stuff wasn't like in Batman Begins. We actually see that happen. And in this film, they don't. They rather just have the portrayal of trauma through the kids and whatever, through his eyes and through the kids and his relationship with the kids or what that sounds of. But, his character relationship.
Michael Jackson, eh?
Die. So yeah, the story was most definitely on Batman and not everyone else. So some things were sidelines and the overriding mystery. It was portrayed. Let's be honest, it's a very good film. It's borderline fantastic, right? And how they did things is superb, regardless of how we would change things to make it better in our view. We can say, oh, this would be better, this would be better. But if they actually did it, would it be better? Could we be reviewing that kind of film, with the problems we have suddenly resolved, and then we can still criticize it? So it's again a case of it's so popular that we're looking for things to, take digs at. But ultimately, the film that they gave us is quite superb. I can't really think of much to criticize, but what we have spoke about, I would have just preferred, slight tweaks on how they did it, because I do think some things didn't get the limelight, and I do hope. I just think, would I want them to return to the Dark Knight trilogy kind of format in terms of how they did the characters and whatever? I just think they should go along the route that they want to do, tell the story that the director and the writers want to do with the Batman and its subsequent sequels. And I just think the Dark Knight trilogy will always be there. And I think the Dark Knight trilogy absolutely bangs it out the park. Maybe not with the third one, but with the first two, they are very good films. And I think they do each character justice absolutely. But I would love to see the Batman sequel return to that. But again, I trust the creatives to produce the best film possible. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think it's in good hands, judging from this one. Let's go to the Penguin.
Okay, the Penguin, the scarred man himself. He's involved in one of my favourite scenes. Well, my favourite scene from the film and one of my favourite scenes from any movie. Do you know which one I'm on about?
Is it by any chance the car chase that I got you?
Yes.
I got you.
Oh, that is superb. And not just for the moment where, the explosions come up and the Batmobile comes and emerges from the flames. Because that bit's
not
awesome, of course.
Dun, 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 dun.
The whole sequence is superb. And, you think, oh, what's he going to do? And then he breaks. And then you didn't expect that. And then, the aftermath of that. And I just thought that's not only choreographed so well because the car in action was so perfectly as well, and the music throughout this film was superb. And I know Michael, the previous co-host of this thing, he said the music was mediocre, and I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah, this soundtrack is superb in my opinion.
I was literally working this morning and I had the soundtrack on, And then I was just baking some bread, and then all I hear is dun dun, and I just thought, oh, okay.
Very intense bread.
Yeah, very intense baking of bread. Oh god, yeah, it was hard mastication. No, mastication, masturbating. Yes, that's masturbating. What is mastication? Because I know what masturbation is, but what's mastication? I've never kind of researched that.
The process of emasculating someone or
What the hell does that
someone?
mean? What
Emasculating is is like when people make you feel less like a man.
Make me feel less like a man feel.
You're short.
No, I'm not. You're half my height.
Emasculation.
Oh, I see. What else about Penguin? What did you like? I liked his lair as well. His kind of base.
Oh yeah, the iceberg lounge made a lot of sense for Penguin in this, in this setting, because the only other Penguin we've really got in like the mainstream was Danny DeVito's in Batman Returns.
Okay.
And that's a very different Penguin to what we see here, because he's like this sewer dweller, and he's actually like a monster. Like he has webbed hands, he has sharp teeth, whereas this one's meant to be he's a bit of a bloke who has a bearing resemblance to a penguin, so they call him Penguin.
What's the resemblance in this film? I never kind of got if that was what they were going for.
He waddles like he waddles like a penguin does. I noticed that the second time round. And he obviously has like the nose, but that's like what the comics do, but toning it down a bit. Because in the comics, he's not like some creature; he's just some penguin-looking dude.
I only assumed he waddled because he was on like the larger side, and when you're like that.
Yeah, that's always been the Penguin's thing as well. He's always been, because he's maybe like a mobster and like the typical like gangster you think of as like a larger human, but he does have like a bit of a waddle to him.
Yes. Okay, that's fair.
He was serviceable. Like he was really creepy.
Yes.
Yeah, he was really creepy, and he did serve the plot well, and I didn't know he was in this film. I don't know if that's just because they either didn't advertise or my negligence, but when he came out, I was like, oh, okay, Carmine Falcone's here. And again, they kind of...
Did they not show him in the trailers?
I don't think they did.
Oh, okay.
I have no memory. Like, I remember the Penguin, Catwoman, and Riddler in the trailers, but I cannot remember Carmine Falcone in the trailers.
It gave me like Jack vibes from Last Night in Soho, did Falcone. I think they're very similar charismatic actors, Matt Smith and whoever played Falcone in this film. I'm sure you can help me out with the name.
No. I know the actor, because I've only ever seen him in comedies. Just seeing him in this more serious role, I was like, oh, he can act.
Yeah, but Falcone and Penguin were well cast, in my opinion. They didn't have loads to do, but a funny moment at the end, towards the end of the film, is when Selena goes to shoot him from pretty much point blank range, and then she shoots him, and then he just ducks out of the way and it misses. And I think there's no, like, when you fire a bullet, it's pretty much instant that it would, get to you. So there's not enough room for you to duck. So every time I've rewatched it, which is one time,
one time.
Yes, I just laughed because I was like, "What the fuck is that?" But yeah, did you notice that?
Yeah, but then again, guns in films are like really wacky when it comes to their physics.
Yeah, if they kind of established that she was quite far away, it would make sense. But she's literally a table or a step across from him, and I just think, "Oh my god, what the hell?"
It was a bit like, oh, okay, you're missing and you're meant to be skilled? What the fuck?
Yeah, but do you want to talk about Selena?
Yeah, I feel like we have to.
Yeah.
I feel like, because, again, watching the trailers and seeing all the commercial content, I was worried that there was still cramming too many people and that Catwoman was going to be a big letdown as well as the Penguin. But she did good, I felt. Like, I think she was a really good Catwoman.
She was. I don't think she was... Again, I'm comparing it to the Dark Knight trilogy. I did quite like Anne Hathaway in The Dark Knight Rises.
I just don't remember in The Dark Knight Rises. Like, this Catwoman I can distinctly remember. Whenever I try to think, I didn't even know it was Anne Hathaway.
Oh, really?
But I just, like, trying to think back, I think, like, she had...
I just remember her because of her latex suit. But, yeah.
You would.
Yeah. However, what I was going to go on to was that this one is actually more memorable. And unlike Anne Hathaway's character, you maybe actually want to see her in a future film. Like, there's so many opportunities that she could go on now. And, like, is she going to get a TV show on one of the 2 TV shows they commissioned? Or is she going to be a prominent role in the second film? God knows. But you actually want to look for her.
I can imagine they've got to bring her back.
That's what I've been told elsewhere. And I kind of get that, but headlining a TV show is quite huge. Like, if the Batman is on a different route to Selina now, and if they can't get a way to connect their two different stories, then maybe she deserves that TV role as opposed to being sidelined in the sequel to Batman again.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
How Wanda did in WandaVision, but actually make it a good television show.
Yeah. Don't fuck it up like 4 episodes in.
But we can't go an episode without mentioning Doctor Who or its associated spin-offs, so I'm going to mention this. Well, I did kind of mention Matt Smith about 10 minutes ago. However, have you seen Torchwood Miracle Day?
I've not seen any Torchwood. We know this.
Well, I didn't know this because I forgot. But there's a thread in Series 4 of Torchwood where they use, the eye things to see their perspective. And Torchwood actually, and as you know, Children of Earth did it, Series 3, and then they reused it in Miracle Day, Series 4. And it was executed really well in Children of Earth and Miracle Day. And maybe they drew an inspiration, but I think it's just a very general kind of thing. But yeah, I found that dynamic really interesting in terms of the scene where Selina is actively calling Bruce again, or the Batsman, because before she finds the recording of her roommate, I think it was, or it wasn't her sister, it was definitely her roommate.
Roommates.
Yeah, her roommate being tortured and killed and strangled, and then she's just there like in the bathroom waiting for Batman to return with the little sticky note saying, "Where are you? I need you." And you see the cat. And yeah, it was just really interesting to see how their dynamic unfolded in a similar way to how it was on Torchwood. If you are going to watch it, Series 2, Series 3, great television.
I'll watch it at some point, but I've got better things to watch.
Oh yes, Mean Girls 4.
Sure.
The Twilight Saga.
Leave it alone.
What's the one you've been watching recently? Hang on. Oh, Resident Evil.
Oh, I finished that franchise.
Yeah, you watched all of Resident Evil, but you still haven't watched the bloody Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
And you haven't watched Torchwood.
Yes.
Oh dear God! But back to the Batman. That'll be good to pad out the runtime of this episode. But back to the Batman.
Just you exposing me?
Yeah, you need to watch better things other than Resident Evil.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? You haven't seen Interstellar? You've seen Space Odyssey, right?
Yes.
What did you think of that?
Boring.
Agreed. All right, Batman. Right, get us back on track.
Dun 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 dun. Well, I think we've covered like the side characters, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the Joker scene.
This is very Marmitey. Some people are saying it's crap. Some people are saying it's fantastic.
More exclusively the deleted one, not that one that we got in the film.
Oh yeah, let's clarify. We're talking about the deleted scene that was released. Like I was interrupted. Someone walked into my room. So yes, to clarify, the scene that was released 2 or 3 days before the recording. What did you think, Theo? I'm pushing the question to you.
Well, I think I've got an idea of what you think, but personally, I really, really, really like it as a deleted scene. Okay. I think if the scene was in the film, it would have ruined the film completely. Because I love the scene. I appreciate the scene. I love, I don't know the actor's full name, but Barry, I know that's his first name, I think. I really love... Yeah, Barry. I really like Barry's Joker and the dynamic he has with Batman in that scene. The dialogue is so crisp. But if it was in the film, I think it would have ruined it because it just kind of spells out all the themes and the like symbolisms of the Riddler and Batman's relationship in the film. But it just spells it out. But as a deleted scene, I can watch it like after the fact and appreciate it a lot more.
Exactly how I feel, yeah.
And I just really like his Joker interpretation. I like how he looks like he's really fucking scary, to be honest. Like, since Heath's Joker, he's probably the scariest Joker design going, because that mouth is, dear God, like,
they
kind of horrifying.
Quite far away from the actual source material of, like, the Joker's look, I think. Like, you don't see the teeth that far out.
I love it. I think it looks so good.
How will it look if you're seeing him throughout a film, though? Will it look comical? Will it get a bit tiresome? Gimmicky is the word.
Well, if it's treated rightly, like, if they treat like how they did the Riddler, because his design was, like, to boil it down, he basically wear a gimp suit for the whole film. Like, we can't run past this. He was wearing like
he just needed the panel,
but
and then
he was still scary. Like, he was still intimidating. And then when he's out of the costume, you just see he's like some like kid, like some whiny little brat, and that works quite well. But this Joker, if they keep what they did in that deleted scene up for a whole film, I would love it, because it's kind of finally a Joker who's just kind of insane, not in like the I'm gonna have damage tattoo on my forehead way.
Yeah, I don't think no matter what that Barry Keoghan, it's not gonna surpass Heath Ledger's performance and portrayal of the Joker from The Dark Knight. I think we can both, and everyone can agree on that Heath Ledger is like delivered the pinnacle of the Joker performances. Or would you disagree?
I know, because my like relationship, that's just sound with my relationship with Joker portrayals, but like I'm a big fan of Jack Nicholson's Joker, and
he was good.
I can't say I can prefer him over Heath, but there's a lot to appreciate with every interpretation of the Joker bar one.
Yes. Jared
like, like even the ones in Gotham, like obviously they're not better than the ones in film, but I really appreciate them, and I'm just excited to see what Barry's Joker does bring to the table, because he seems to be going down the path of like a more, because Heath was, he was insane. He did like crazy things in the film, but he always had like not a line he didn't cross, but like he never did anything like kill a child or anything. You know what I mean? Like he like I couldn't just see him walking up to a child and stabbing it and then walking away.
Yes.
Like a crazy lunatic. Whereas with Barry's one, I could see that fucking dude just go up to an orphanage and burn it down.
Yeah, I get your point. It's just like, again, about the damage thing across the foreheads. Like, you don't need that, because you can clearly see that. You don't even have to see him laughing, but just showing off his face, you just think, holy crap, this guy is unhinged. Like, the mouth is so far away. It looks like a dog, you know what I mean? So it's like this guy could cut your throat with his teeth. It's like really unnerving. And that's all we need, the appearance. Yeah, I agree.
And also his laugh. Like, I really like his laugh.
Yeah, the laugh is great. I need to watch The Dark Knight again, man. All this review is doing is making me want to rewatch that. Because we have to wait like another 3 years for the sequel. So why not go back and live out the best days?
I have been just watching that deleted scene. Not on repeat, but I've watched it like a few good times now.
I've been watching it for 3 days since it came out. I've not stopped.
I've been watching it so much that we've had to delay this recording so much so I'm going to keep watching it.
Oh, that explains why we had to delay tonight a bit.
I had to fit in like 20 more times before I could do this review.
Oh, dear God, yeah. But, I'm on the same page as you. I do like the scene, but I'm glad it was cut. And I think it has more of an impact culturally as a deleted scene. I think less people would talk about it than if it was a deleted scene now, which it is. And that's only because it depends on how it would have been slotted into the film. Would it have been around the middle point, which I think it would have been like about maybe 2/3 of the way through, as opposed to the climax, or just before the climax? Because I think it may, depending on where it was laid, like put into the sequence of the film, the timeline, would it have overshadowed, or would it have been overshadowed by the same practically shot interrogation scene with the Riddler? And I think it would. Either way. I don't actually know where it would slot in, because in the scene he's like asking Joker for advice on who the Riddler is and stuff. Yeah. And
that he mentions that he's already killed the mayor and commissioner, so it's after those two. But like I couldn't, like if I was to watch that, man, I couldn't think of a particular scene where, if I slotted this deleted scene in, it would work well. I feel like it's good that they didn't use it, because I think it would have felt really out of place if they did.
Yeah, I think maybe, I don't know where it would have been, to be honest.
Straight from like the Iceberg Lounge just to then him in freaking prison.
Yeah, where is he?
Where is he? What did you do? That fucking scene.
Oh, I sent that as a meme. I'm going to chuck it up on the edit now so people can watch it on YouTube. Maybe not the audio version, but yeah.
Where are they? Killing is making a choice. Where are they? Choose between one life or the other.
I think we've covered all our bases.
Yes, we have. This film, we criticised the things that we wanted changed yesterday, or like whenever we recorded. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think the more and more we talked about it, the more and more I realised that this film did something and it stuck to its guns and it didn't take anything integral to the film to make it great. It instead substituted it for something that it wanted to do, specifically on that route. So we could have had more development with Alfred, but it's a Batman film ultimately. So they focus on Batman, and that's absolutely prevalent across the film. So I respect the hell out of this film. Theo, any final notes before we go into the audience interaction and scores?
The story was good. I like the riddles.
You liked the riddles, yes.
He lies still.
Oh yeah, that was good, to be fair. I did enjoy that. And even the second time around, I couldn't remember it. So I was like, wait, what is the riddle? And then I was like, oh, I am an idiot.
Yeah, it's the one they use in all the trailers. They're like, if your guesses do not lie.
Yeah.
What is the price for your blind eye?
fair-
Which is even a riddle, because it's just a fucking question at that point.
Exactly. The thing is, to the people that may have seen my Letterboxd review when I first did it, I think I said
All the real fans.
somewhere, all the real fans, go follow us on Letterboxd, both of us. I believe I said somewhere that some criticisms I had the first time didn't hold up on a rewatch. So the first time we went to the cinema, I was like, why is the commissioner always reading out the riddle? Like, surely we can, like, he can clearly see what the riddle is, so why are you just telling him in his ear the riddle itself? And then I thought, okay, it's kind of justified because of, like, the visually impaired, so, like, audio would help as well. Like, there's no reason for not to have audio. But I just felt like it was unnecessary exposition because he can see, and you can see, the riddle, so it doesn't need to be said. But the second time I kind of just accepted it, and it was less of a problem. Was that a thing for you as well? Like, did it get on your nerves when he kept speaking the riddles out? Like, Batman never did. It was always the commissioner.
I don't know. It's like a thing of, whenever anyone reads a riddle, I swear you read it out to yourself anyway, because reading something is different to like speaking out loud is different to just reading it in your head. Because when you say it out loud, you start to put more possibilities together. So probably Jim was just like, if he's white, then you are white. And then Batman's just like, well, I'm intelligent, so I know the answer.
Fair enough. But yeah, that wasn't a problem the second time around. And again, there were like one or two other things, like minute things. That was never a problem. Like, at the end, I found the ending really rushed the first time around. And then the second time around, I thought, no, it's absolutely fine. But the one problem I still I actually developed on the second time around. You know where he pulls the people out of the wreckage, and this is so small a nitpick as well. When he gets all the people out of the wreckage, he like leads this one person away first. I think it's like a little girl or whatever, and then we cut to a high shot. And then all of a sudden, there's about 30 people behind him. And I just think, okay, so we had this like really long shot. And by that, I mean like a really 30-second long shot of people coming out. And then you see about 6 or 7 people come out in that time. And then all of a sudden, high shot. And then there's about 20, 25, 30 of them. And I just think, you know what? That's a tiny nitpick. It's for spectacle. Just go with it. And like, that's one small problem that's substituted for a huge problem I had the first time, which was a rushed resolution. But yeah, I really liked the resolution to this, and more so, you know, the name drop, when it name dropped its own title in the film, and it's like, oh, we're coming to the end of what? The Batman. And it's like, okay, so that's the bit where like we're on that journey. The film did incredible legwork to get up to that point. We're completely invested as audience members, and we want a climax by that point, in terms of, okay, so we're ready for the climax to happen now. And then when he name drops the Batman as, you know, potentially ending soon, we're like, okay, brain's back in 100% mode as opposed to like 90%, and now we're going to focus because this is going to be really entertaining. And it did it. It name drops. When a film name drops, sometimes it's like crappy, but this film does it in a clever way, and I do think it has a lot of impact. And every single time, again, twice, I've only seen the film twice, every single time I kind of get chills, and I think so did the audience, because when that happens, I just felt like subconsciously everybody kind of perked up a bit. Everyone kind of was like, I don't know if you did, but yeah, I've really enjoyed that.
Well, I think they were dropping his name the whole time because every letter was addressed to the Batman.
Well, you know what I mean. When he just goes silent and says, the Batman. Oh, dear God. But yeah, I think we should move on into the audience interaction section, don't you think, Theodore?
Yes, William.
Hard cut. So, on Twitter, Jamie Marybazzer494 said, if I didn't have parents who dislike the cinemas as well as mock exams at the moment, I would have seen it by now. Thank you for that insight. Alex Spiddleston said, for a first-time DC experience and as a Batman experience, I couldn't have wished for anything better. Alex, please watch The Dark Knight. Actually, watch Batman Begins before, but yeah, for a first film, this is pretty fantastic to start on. Jonathan, That Movie Bud, said, Batman showing his true detective skills and love how... No, the grammar on this is not good. Batman showing his true detective skills and love how they deal with psychology of a nocturnal animal. Your favourite bit of dialogue. I'm a nocturnal animal. Loved it even more the second time. Great pacing, which we've agreed with. Amazing acting, and Riddler was great. And then to spoil the party... Michael Multiverse of Mike Nuss said, decent, but not the great cinematic masterpiece some claim. Too long, first half is too slow, far too slow actually. Some poor direction and acting choices, but a second half that overall much improved. 7th best Batman film. Blimey. And then I gave a reaction video and then I asked him to elaborate, and then he elaborated with this. He said, sure. Well, whatever Paul Dano was doing in the last act just had the entire screening I was in laughing. Oh, okay, so his whole screening was laughing at Paul Dano. Okay, so it definitely wasn't just me. English aristocrat Oswald Cobblepot is somehow a broad Italian-American stereotype called Oz. Bruce goes too far into over-the-top emo. He literally shouts, "You're not my real dad." Direction-wise, the use of over-the-top slow-mo for every entrance was both overdone and laughably cheesy. The action is generic, boring, and lacks any punch. I absolutely disagree with that last bit. Yeah. Too many point-of-view shots and the narrative doesn't work, coming off like a bad Rorschach impression. Most of the last act feels tacked on. I can vouch for that, to be fair. The last bit of that does feel very tacked on. Conversely, the point that Batman realizes he just can't be vengeance and should be a symbol for hope too is my favourite part of the film, as is the symbolism that he drops himself into the water, literally baptizing and reborn as the heroic Batman. Everyone's ignoring this sadly. Did you notice that? He's saying symbolism of Batman falling into the water and then being reborn as Batman and not just vengeance.
As a man who had to go to Christian school, I thought it was something to do with baptism.
Okay. Yeah, Michael is also a Christian, so that kind of makes sense.
I'm not a Christian, I just had to go to a Christian school.
Oh, unlucky you. How was that?
Don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Right. So on Letterboxd, we have some reviews, of course. Okay, so Clack of the Geek gave it a 4.5, Colloquially gave it a 4, Theodore Stokes gave it a...
Yeah.
Marvel Man and basically Michael Wilson gave it a 3.5. 8 Bean Soup gave it a 3.5. Helen_S gave it a 3.5. Helist gave it a 5-star. K Caris 31 gave it a 4-star. Dan_Z_1 gave it a 4.5-star. A surprising lack of 5 stars so far. Holy crap, I thought it was more popular than this. Harry Membry gave it a 4-star. George Paparts 17 gave it a 4.5. Bigfoot Anon gave it a 5. Gabe gave it a 4.5. Joe Ellis gave it 4 5-star reviews. Joe DeCon gave it a 4-star. Annie Krinik Designs gave it a 5-star. Luke gave it a 5-star. Shock Obster gave it a 4.5. Aiden gave it a 4.5. And Matt Hall gave it a 5-star. It definitely isn't a 5-star in my opinion. That's why I think a lot of people aren't giving it a 5-star. And I have noticed that 4 stars are now overtaking 5 stars by quite a good margin now. Like, it's very good, but it's not perfect. And I think, for some odd reason, I think a lot of people went into this film giving it a 5-star regardless of quality. But again, opinions are opinions, innit? So, yeah. Theodore, would you like to impart your score and conclusion onto me and the audience, please?
my humble opinion,
Yes.
this is the best Batman film. Not necessarily the best film, but I think this film gets Batman down to a T.
Gotcha.
I love all the actors. I love the story. I love the themes and ideals and the symbolism, even though I kind of bitched about them earlier. And overall, this film hits hard and the soundtrack absolutely slaps. I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Very good. 3.5. Fucking 3.5. 4.5. Nice. I said an incredible accomplishment that I'm going to study in the coming weeks and years. A lot of different techniques are on show here, whether it be practical or editorial. The use of light, the use of music, the use of vignette, and the use of soundscape and its multiple layers. I'm generalizing because there are a lot of different things the film does. Thanks to Theo, me and Cole were able to watch this at quite possibly the best venue you could experience this at, so perhaps some things we experienced would not be experienced by the folk that watched this in standard definition, aka 2D.
Yes.
This, and I would like to thank you again for that experience because it was very good and I really loved the film.
It's left a hole in my pocket.
This does not feel like a 3-hour film, to the point that this climatic sequence feels like it could have been dragged out a bit in order to add more emotional weight. I felt as though it jumped quickly over the devastation, failing to establish any jump in time for the disaster, which I do disagree with in retrospect, by the way. It had done incredible legwork up until that point just to tie things up quickly for a heroic saviour moment with more dramatic voiceover. And that is something I do agree with. I do think they tied things up quickly for a heroic saviour moment, and there's problems with that, as we've touched upon. But yeah, this film doesn't feel like a 3-hour one. I've experienced 90-minute films that feel like 3-hour films, and the Batman feels exactly the opposite. I don't understand the pacing criticisms, though, as I tried to get across in the previous paragraph. I do agree with the criticism that it lost its way in the final act a bit, although that's a general sentiment as I try to stay away from reading any opinions/reviews prior to watching it for the first time. And again, this is my review for the first time. I did log it for the second time on the rewatch, but I did re-review because I couldn't be asked. So I disagree with all the criticisms that I saw prior to watching, bar one. We, myself, Theo, and Cole practically all agree that this was a very good, incredibly made film. The car chase sequence is single-handedly the best scene I've seen on the big screen, not just for the marvel of the set piece, but because of the subversion of expectations, the writing. It was so clever and unexpected throughout the film. I'm dabbling between a 4 and a 4.5, but I think it's worthy of a near-perfect score, although it's not perfect and it has its handful of small problems. Very damn good, and I gave it a 4.5, so the average, of course, comes to a 4.5 out of 5. Theo, I swear to God, we are just agreeing with each other a lot recently. We've got a lot of similar scores out of these movies that we've
we're syncing up a bit here.
Yes, we do have very similar tastes, but you just rate Home Alone 2 too harshly.
Oh, well, I'm sure that we'll get to some disagreements soon, don't worry. I'm sure we'll get to some arguments.
What are we actually reviewing soon? Let's find out, because in the previous episode we didn't say what was coming up next time, I don't think. But yeah, next month we'll be reviewing Halloween, the first timeline, so I think we agreed to do like 3 or maybe 4 films for that episode. So yeah, that shouldn't be too bad. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Theo, for being a great co-host again.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please give us some 5-star ratings on Apple and Spotify. If you're listening or watching this on YouTube, do give us a comment, give us a like. Let's hit, well, I don't know, it's 10 likes for this episode. We have been getting like 8 or 9 likes recently, 7, 8, 9 likes. So let's try and hit 10 again for the first time in a couple of weeks. Or a couple of months, should I say, a couple of episodes. So yeah, see you guys next month. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Adios.
Sayonara.
Monte bene.
Alonzi. Okay, goodbye.
Geronimo.